The Battle of Berlin, a pivotal event in World War II, marked the decisive phase in the European theater, culminating in the fall of Nazi Germany. This monumental confrontation unfolded against the backdrop of a war-weary continent, where the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany clashed in a struggle for supremacy. Here, we delve into the prelude to this historic battle, examining the factors that set the stage for one of the most intense urban conflicts in modern history. As World War II progressed, the Eastern Front emerged as a crucial theater of conflict, witnessing massive troop movements, fierce engagements, and staggering casualties. By early 1945, the Soviet Red Army, under the command of Marshal Georgy Zhukov, had inflicted significant defeats upon the German forces, pushing them steadily westward. Berlin, the capital of Nazi Germany, held immense strategic significance. As the political and administrative heart of the Third Reich, its capture would not only symbolize the defeat of Hitler's regime, but also sever vital communication and supply lines, effectively paralyzing German military operations. The Soviet leadership, recognizing the symbolic and strategic importance of Berlin, meticulously planned the assault on the city. Soviet forces, numbering over 2 million troops, were organized into three fronts: the First Belarusian Front under Marshal Zhukov, the First Ukrainian Front commanded by Marshal Ivan Konev, and the Second Belarusian Front led by Marshal Konstantin Rokossovsky. Facing the Soviet onslaught, German preparations for the defense of Berlin were frenzied but ultimately inadequate. The Wehrmacht, depleted in both manpower and resources, relied heavily on hastily assembled units comprising a mix of regular troops, hastily trained Volkssturm, militia, and Hitler Youth members. Under the overall command of General Helmuth Weidling, the defense of Berlin seemed an insurmountable task. On the Soviet side, Marshal Georgy Zhukov, a seasoned commander with a string of victories in Stalingrad and Kursk, spearheaded the assault on Berlin. His strategic acumen and determination made him a formidable adversary. Alongside Zhukov, Marshal Ivan Konev and Marshal Konstantin Rokossovsky brought their own expertise and experience to bear on the campaign. With the stage set and the forces arrayed, the Battle of Berlin erupted into a harrowing conflict that would shape the course of history. Here, we delve into the unfolding of the battle, tracing its development over time and examining the tactics, engagements, and pivotal moments that defined this epic confrontation. As the Soviet forces launched their assault on Berlin in late April 1945, they encountered fierce resistance from German defenders determined to hold their ground. The initial phase of the battle saw intense street-to-street fighting as Soviet troops pressed forward against fortified positions and dug-in defenders. The Battle of Berlin was characterized by brutal urban warfare, with combatants engaging in close-quarters fighting amidst the bombed-out ruins of the city. Soviet infantry, supported by tanks and artillery, advanced methodically through the streets, facing stiff opposition from entrenched German troops and encountering booby traps and improvised defenses at every turn. Despite being vastly outnumbered and outgunned, German forces mounted several counterattacks in a desperate bid to stem the Soviet advance. Panzer units and elite infantry divisions launched fierce assaults against Soviet positions, but these efforts were ultimately unable to halt the inexorable progress of the Red Army. Amidst the chaos of battle, Adolf Hitler remained holed up in his underground bunker beneath the Reich Chancellery, issuing increasingly delusional orders to non-existent armies and refusing to acknowledge the dire situation facing the German defenders. As the Soviet noose tightened around the city, Hitler and his inner circle prepared for a final stand, determined to fight to the bitter end. By early May 1945, the Battle of Berlin had reached its climax. With Soviet troops closing in on the heart of the city and the German defenses crumbling under relentless pressure, resistance began to falter. On May 2, General Helmuth Weidling, realizing the futility of further resistance, surrendered Berlin to the advancing Soviet forces, effectively signaling the end of the Battle of Berlin and the downfall of Nazi Germany. The capture of Berlin by the Soviet Red Army marked a decisive turning point in World War II, signaling the imminent collapse of the Third Reich and the end of Hitler's reign of terror. The battle left a legacy of devastation and destruction, with much of the city reduced to rubble and countless lives lost in the struggle for its control. In conclusion, the Battle of Berlin stands as a testament to the brutal realities of war and the resilience of those who fought amidst its chaos. From the streets of Berlin to the corridors of power, this epic clash between the Soviet Red Army and the German defenders remains etched in the annals of history as one of the defining moments of World War II. The Battle of Berlin exacted a staggering human toll, with both Soviet and German forces suffering heavy casualties in the ferocious fighting. The streets of Berlin became a graveyard for soldiers on both sides, as well as for countless civilians caught in the crossfire. The battle bore witness to acts of extraordinary bravery and sacrifice, as ordinary men and women found themselves thrust into the maelstrom of war. The Battle of Berlin left an indelible mark on the city itself, with vast swathes of Berlin reduced to rubble and ruin by the relentless bombardment and street fighting. Landmarks such as the Reichstag and the Brandenburg Gate bore the scars of battle, serving as silent witnesses to the carnage that had unfolded within their shadow. The physical and psychological scars of the battle would linger long after the guns fell silent, shaping the post-war reconstruction and remembrance of Berlin's turbulent past. In the annals of military history, few battles loom as large or cast as long a shadow as the Battle of Berlin. From its dramatic prelude to its climactic conclusion, the struggle for control of the German capital encapsulated the brutality and chaos of total war. The triumph of the Soviet Red Army over the German defenders marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany, and the dawn of a new era in European history. Yet, amidst the ruins of Berlin, the human cost of war remained all too evident, a stark reminder of the price paid in blood and suffering for victory on the battlefield.